Democrats keep following these political norms and traditions, and it's confusing because you can't call a man a fascist and a dictator, but when he wins, throws all that rhetoric out the window. Unless, of course, it was just politics and you never believed it. I've told y'all this already. Yes, I've called Trump a fascist, not because of anything Democrats said, but because of the words I've heard come out of Trump's mouth. But it's almost like Democrats don't realize how they screw themselves for the future because the midterms are right around the corner. The only thing they can hope for is that Republicans implode and F things up so bad that the American people are just dying for a change, because there's nothing Democrats can say about Republicans that we should believe after they spent weeks calling Trump a fascist and calling Republicans fascists and telling us it would be the end of democracy, only to put a button on all of that.
Well, Mr. President.
For a second time. Barack, very nice to see you.
Congratulations. So how you doing?
I'm a lot better, Dad.
Yeah, I bet. Knew you'd win.
Oh, really? Well, come on. Anyone could beat her. She's just...
I was just as appalled. You know what happened? He just didn't want to leave.
I know.
Is what happened. I did what I could to help her. She was horrendous.
I know. You know what I realized? Hillary still hates me. So much. I know. She'll never forget me. We should meet to discuss
I
that.
think so, too. We can definitely set something up. Let me know whatever works best for you.
I was going to fly back to Florida tomorrow for the Gulf.
Okay. Did you see that? She won't even look at me.
Really? I was told some of her people. Apparently they said she fell off the wagon.
I think she actually may have. Sure. And also, she's not really built for this. Amount of pressure, if you're not built for it, will do
it. We got to talk about Charlamagne, because Charlamagne recently was on his podcast with Theo Von. I believe the podcast is called Brilliant Idiots. That's legitimately the name of the podcast. I'm not even trying to like make a joke or anything. It's called Brilliant Idiots. It's Charlamagne and Theo Von run the podcast, are the two hosts of the podcast. And he said something that was pretty interesting that I think is pretty noteworthy, considering the clips that I just showed you guys there at the beginning of this video. And we're going to talk about that a little bit today. So with that being said, let's dive in.
Everybody should be diplomatic. I definitely believe in democracy. Anybody who acts like this year or this last year in politics, this last presidential election, anybody who acts like the rhetoric was normal is out of their fucking mind. Okay. I've been alive 46 years. I have never heard people refer to a political opponent or liken them to Hitler. Never heard him be called a fascist, right? Never heard them say, I've heard the threat to democracy thing. They like to throw that around.
But why are they all hanging out and chumming it up with Hitler? I don't get it.
That's my point.
Ah.
So my point is, if you're going to have that rhetoric, keep that same energy.
Oh, so what you're saying is that
Mike Pence's fucking wife is a gangster. Yeah. Michelle Obama is a gangster.
Yeah.
If we don't with you, we don't with you. If we not only have I said you're a threat to democracy, you literally put me and my family in danger. That's why I'm gonna act all chummy with you. President Obama, yo, you said verbatim, Donald Trump may be goofy, but he's dangerous. You talked about his Joint Chiefs of Staff likening him to Hitler. You said this man was a threat to democracy. Right? You said these things. You're the last real leader of the Democratic Party. You tell me if that's good political optics. Why should I, like I said this last week, why should I believe anything that comes out of Democrats' mouths?
I don't know why you believe anything that comes out of any of their mouths.
Bing, bing, bing. Thank you, Theo Von. Somebody finally said it. You shouldn't believe a single thing that comes out of these Democrats' mouths. They said Donald Trump is Hitler. He's the devil himself reincarnated, right? But now they're all keying with him, hanging out with him, having, joyous conversations. Joe Biden was grinning ear to ear sitting next to Donald Trump. I mean, if he was really that big of a threat, would Joe Biden be grinning ear to ear sitting next to him? Would Jill Biden be grinning ear to ear while standing next to him? Would Barack Obama be keying it with him while sitting next to him? Like, be serious here. Let's be real. If he was really that big of a threat, you wouldn't see that. So, come on now. It's common sense here, but, of course, common sense is no longer common.
I don't.
It's all
Republicans
rhetoric.
are Democrats.
It's all rhetoric. They're all buddies. The problem is that they used to all drink together until, Newt Gingrich shrunk the work week or something like that. Do you remember this? Like, they used to all live in D.C. because there wasn't enough time.
Now D.C.'s boring. Who the fuck wants to be in D.C.? Being in D.C. too long is why these motherfuckers are so out of touch. My point is, and
no, they don't anymore. But they used to all hang out, go to the same bars, and there's like these restaurants that they would frequent where the behind the backdoor deals would happen. But they'd also be forced to fraternize with one another. And I think it was Gingrich that like changed the work week so that they could actually fly home for the weekends. They maybe made it Monday through Thursday or something like that. I could be totally wrong on all this, but. And then it started to become a little bit more fractured. Now, I don't think it's more fractured in terms of they don't like each other as much. I simply think that there's just not enough FaceTime and not enough opportunities for them to be together so they can put on this bullshit rhetoric like this side's the enemy and it's the end of democracy. All this nonsense.
You're looking at it from a regular political standpoint. Yes, we know politicians throw mud at each other and shit like that.
Yeah.
Not he's a fascist.
Yeah.
Not he's a threat to democracy.
No, you're
not
right.
likening him to Hitler.
No.
This is different.
This is the thing. That's why nobody takes Democrats seriously. It's like, how could you take them seriously when your leaders end up doing this?
Listen, I am not arguing.
How could you take any of them seriously when they're up in a microphone? They're like, this might be the last election in America. How could you take them seriously when they're chumming it up with the guy who's going to be a tyrant and then take America out of the democracy?
And then meanwhile, Republicans like Bruce Fisher won't even shake the vice president's hand.
Which is crazy.
You know what I'm saying? The Republicans like Bruce Fisher won't even shake her hand. Like, they keep that same energy all the time. Democrats do not. And that's why I like the fact that Michelle Obama didn't show up to Jimmy Carter's funeral. I like the fact that Michelle Obama's not showing up to the inauguration because Michelle Obama was going hard too. Mm-hmm. So this is why everybody looks to Michelle as the leader of the goddamn party, and she's never been a politician because she's the only one like, nah.
Actually, all the women kept it loyal, really, because Kamala didn't even turn around like, you know what? Fuck you then.
Well, I want to say something about that too.
Hillary, fuck you then.
I agree with that, but we're forgetting one thing, and Donald Trump said this too. I forgot he was at some conference. He said this. You know these guys meet up in the back, right?
Yeah.
Like, this wasn't the first time that they all laid eyes on each. Maybe some of them.
Do you remember that like the Catholic roast that they do?
Charlamagne was speaking about when Donald Trump said that they had all met in the back before you saw them out on the floor for the funeral. They all had met in the back and was chit-chatting and jaw-jacking before then. And he said everybody was pretty friendly. So yeah, this front where Hillary's giving him the cold shoulder and Mike Pence's wife is giving him the cold shoulder. I'd be willing to bet that they didn't do that in the back. Everybody was probably keying in the back, and it was all good with this guy that they called Hitler this entire time. Yeah, it's crazy.
The one that
Al Smith,
the Al Smith dinner. Yeah. The realest part of the Al Smith dinner was when Trump was talking about Chuck Schumer. Do you guys remember this? Mm-mm. So he's saying the Chuck Schumer jokes. Yep. But he's also going, I like Chuck. I actually gave Chuck his first check.
You talking about Trump?
Yeah. You know, Chuck's a good guy. He's a good guy. I like him. Chuck, you're a sweet guy. Yeah. That's the real energy.
Yeah.
That's what they talk like with each other went behind the closed doors. That's what they're doing at dinners. That's what they're doing on the phone. The fake energy is when Chuck is like, this guy's dangerous. He's a threat to democracy. He's a fascist. He's flirting with Hitler. That's the fake shit.
Yeah, but that's too much.
I'm agreeing.
Like, that rhetoric is too much.
I'm agreeing with you. And now I think what they have to realize is,
Listen, I'm with you, look, Chris. I'm not going to sit here and act like I didn't call Donald Trump.
Changing my energy for what it's worth. Democrats, Chris Morrow's not changing his energy.
I'm with you. Listen,
if I'm the last one on this fucking
I never called Donald Trump a fascist based off anything I heard from Democrats. I said that because of things I heard come out of Donald Trump's mouth, right? But guess what? I don't even know if I believe it anymore. And you know,
talk that shit.
But only because of how they're acting. I'm like, well, goddamn, maybe it ain't that much of a threat.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
They lied to you.
And by the way, that don't change my vote. I would have still voted for the vice president. Right. But it's just like...
Y'all still believe he voted for Kamala Harris for president?
Right.
Nah, yes, he did.
Fuck with Kamala. I genuinely, but for reasons, right? I voted for the vice president.
Yes.
No, I voted for the vice president because, number one, I do believe in her, but also that's my friend. That's a person I consider a friend. You not gonna support your friend for president?
Yo, you really think that Charlamagne voted for Kamala Harris for president?
Absolutely. Because back in 2020, when y'all didn't even know who the fuck Kamala Harris was, and when she ran for president the first time, I was out there on the campaign trail with her, getting my ass handed to me by people saying, how could you support this woman who locked up thousands of black men? I'm like, that's not what happened. And, you know, it's like, whatever. Yes, I support the vice president. Absolutely. My point with all of that is, this shit right here, how does President Obama explain this, yo? My God. Am I tripping?
Yes, Charlamagne, you're tripping. You were tripping for believing the Democrat Party when they kept selling you this propaganda. When they sold you... when they sold you that pile of crap that Donald Trump is the worst thing ever to ever grace this earth. He's the devil himself, right? Yes, you are tripping for believing that. And yeah, listen, I'm happy that some folks like Charlamagne are finally like starting to open their eyes and see, oh, wait a minute. I thought y'all told me that this guy was like the worst person ever. Like he was gonna get rid of democracy, even though we live in a constitutional republic, but he was gonna get rid of democracy. And now I see y'all keying with him, sitting next to him, chopping it up, shaking hands, having dinner, laughing, and Joe Biden grinning ear to ear. Hold on, I thought y'all said that he was. That don't make any sense. That has to be a lie, right? It has to be a lie. Let me say this. It was a lie. It was all a lie. And this is what I remind Democrats of all the time when I have conversations with Democrats and they start getting the Trump derangement syndrome and start going down the road. Trump's a threat to democracy and Trump's gonna do that. I was like, this is what I always mention. You do realize Trump was president before, right? Did any of this happen? Did any of the stuff that you are saying happen? And the answer is obviously no, but then there's always the but he tried to overthrow an election and he tried to stay blah 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 blah. And this is my answer, right? And I think I've talked to you guys about this before as well. The bottom line is this: when it came time to leave, he left. A real dictator wouldn't have left. Look at Putin. Okay? A real dictator would have stayed and said, y'all gonna have to drag me out of here, a cold, dead body, if you want me out of this White House. Try it. I triple dare you, right? But Trump didn't do that. When it came time to leave, the bottom line is this: he left. And it's that simple. It's that simple. Because at the end of the day, he could have stayed. He could have stayed. Now, I'm not saying it would have gone well for him, or maybe it would have. Who knows? I don't think it would have, but he could have stayed and said exactly what I just said, but he didn't. So, yeah, that whenever Democrats go on there, oh, Trump tried to overthrow the election. He tried to stay, blah, blah, blah. That's all you need to say to him. That's all you need to say. And that's the bottom line. Because Stone Cold said so. No, I'm joking. Anybody who used to watch wrestling knows that line. Stone Cold Steve Austin. But, yeah, man. Shout out, I got to give Charlamagne a little bit of credit here. Just a little bit. And I think that's important when we see folks that are like waking up. You see the gears start to turn a little bit. You see the eyes starting to open. I think it's important that we acknowledge those moments. We acknowledge, those folks, because the more that happens, the less that we'll have to deal with the shenanigans on the back end, right? So when Democrats tried this whole rhetoric all over again, come the midterms or come 2028, the more people we wake up to the truth of like, well, Democrats are flat out liars. They fearmonger. That's their tactic. It's fear some more, right? Fear. And then the last minute, oh, well, we forgot. We're going to give you X, Y, and Z. But also remember, fear. That's their tactic. And it's all a bunch of BS. I think it's important that we acknowledge folks that are waking up to that truth. So yeah, shout out to Charlamagne, man. Shout out to Charlamagne. Happy that the brother is waking up at least a little bit. And I'm not saying that he completely sees it all, right? Because you just heard him, so I still voted for Kamala deal. But the fact that he said, right, out loud on a podcast, not in the back room, in a private conversation, but for the world to hear, hey, these guys are liars. I love that. And we need more of it. We need a lot more of it. But as always, thanks for tuning in. Peace and love. I'm out.